What's up, Reddit? One busy guy here, and I just wanted to follow up on giving you that tutorial on what ComfyUI is all about. So, a little bit about me. I have about 25 years of tech under my belt, and over the last year or so, I've been really digging in to generative AI. So, without any further ado, thanks to Stable Foundation, I screen grabbed their intro to ComfyUI. So I hope you enjoy it. Little note, you have to have ComfyUI installed on your system in order to take advantage of that tutorial. But if you don't, DM me or just search for the video. I'm sure you can find how to install it. So look forward to bringing you more videos like this, images, video, and my experience that I can give to the community. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
There you go. And go down to loaders.
Loaders. And I click it because nothing's popping up on the side.
Yeah. Everything is a click interface for this.
A click. Okay.
And then you want to load checkpoint, which is the top option. There you go. And now if you click on the word 512 depth EMA, click right on the word.
Okay, it'll show
there are
all
of the ones that are in your automatic 1111.
Okay, so I'm going to do SDXL base.
Let's actually not do that one today. Let's do a simpler version. Let's because for demonstration reasons, let's just pick something simpler because
so just do 1.5 or God, I don't know if I have something simpler. I can do
the 1.5 pruned at the bottom there. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason is that there's more complications to use in SDXL, and we just kind of want to run through the basics first before we add complications. All right, so the first thing we've done is we're going to load our checkpoint. And by the way, once something executes, unless it changes, it'll never execute that thing again. So it allows you to create very quick iterations on something without having to go back and loading the checkpoint each time. So now that we'll see later on that actually saves you a lot of time depending on what parts of your workflow change. So pick that up and click on it and drag it to the left, and we'll just kind of scooch it to the side. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we have three things that come out of this. We have our model, we have our clip, which is our kind of our language relationship to the image, and then we have our VAE, which is our autoencoder. So we have three different pieces we need to use, and each model usually they come with these embedded, but we can also add additional ones. So like some people have their own VAEs that they like to use. If we have lores or things like that, we can put those in between the processes we're going to do.
Okay,
and then there's there's all kinds of different stuff we can do here. It gets crazy.
So if I was going to do a lore or something like that, it would be attached to the model one?
It would be between the model and in the sampler. So we're actually going to do that in a minute. So the first thing let's do is let's deal with the clip. So we need to use a prompt to talk to this thing, right? So let's click. I'm going to teach you a couple of different ways to do this. I want to teach you the easiest ways. This kind of knows the process already. So if you click on the yellow circle there, and then click and drag it to the right, and let off, it will say what you want to add. And we want to do clip text encode.
Encode. Okay.
There you go.
And so clip text encode is equal to prompt.
Prompt. So there you go. So let's right click on this node, like in the title there, and go down to colors.
Oh, this is going to get fun. Sorry, what color should I make it?
Green.
Green.
Yeah, so this will be our positive, our positive prompt. So I tend to keep it green.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Green for positive. Okay.
Yep. So let's do the exact same process again. So grab the clip and pull it out.
So you can have multiple things coming out of one spot.
And we're going to
clip text encode, which is prompt. And we're going to color this.
Before you do this one, I'm going to teach you another thing. So click on that and hit delete. Make your delete key or hit remove, whatever you want to do.
Okay, beautiful.
So we're going to do it a different way. I'll teach you a couple different ways because each one's, it's got a time and a place for each one. If you click on the title of the other encoder we already have in there and hold on your Alt key and click and drag while that's held down.
We can get a duplicate.
So quick way to duplicate, but note that there's no connections with it, right? It is simply dragging the node. So get rid of that. But yeah, you can connect it that way. We'll see one other way though. So get rid of that. And the other way is if you click on that node again, and then Control C on your keyboard.
Oh, nice. We'll just
but if you control V, but you hold down the Shift key when you do it, so it's Control Shift V.
Oh,
it will copy it. Yeah, it'll copy it with the same connection, so it will maintain the connections. This is very handy if you have very similar nodes. They're going to have the same hookups. Instead of having to copy it and then drag all these noodles out again, this is a very quick way to do that.
Awesome.
So you have 3 different methods. So you can go and get it. You can.
Oh, so now it's.
Oh, that's right. Remove one.
Do I have 2?
No, don't do that. Yeah, get rid of it. We don't want duplicates. We'd have 3 nodes or 3 different ones there. So click and then hit delete. There you go. Yeah. And then let's color this one red. Do you remember how to do that?
Yes. Colors. Red. So this is negative. Cool.
There you go. So we have 2.
So you can't rename the node?
Yes, you can right click on the top there and choose title.
Oh, title. Okay. And then I could, if I was someone who liked words instead of colors, I could be like prompt.
Yep. So I would just.
Or no.
Just type in word positive. I always do Control A right away, which highlights all of the text. That's how I do this. So I right click title, Control A. That's my first Control A. That way you're not clicking and highlighting because that's work.
Just a click. I'm just a crazy. I just like to make it harder on myself. Okay.
There we go. So if your OCD should be triggering, you're going to want those to be lined up one above the other or not.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because I'm one of these people that it's one of the things about this product is that you can change the graph size so that things can be a little more lined up. But well, there's so much about this product that needs to from a usability standpoint, kind of catch up with some of the other node-based applications. And I want to show you one you and I talked about.
Comfy's in the audience, so go ahead. Tell them all that.
Yeah, like I'll show them. I'll show you what a real graph looks like. If you think this is bad, I'll show you one.
Oh no!
Right. So we have our prompts done. Now we don't really need to do anything else here except for just this text. So you're going to find that as you get these graphs done, you're going to kind of clump together the things that you're constantly adjusting. So you'll end up with kind of a zoomed in view of the graph that has all of your controls on it. So it may look like we're laying it out like is a flow, but eventually you're going to start dragging this stuff around so that you're not zooming in and out to adjust settings.
Okay.
So just realize you can move this stuff around once we kind of get it hooked up, but I want you to see the workflow across it, right?
Okay.
There you go. You figured that out. All right. So the next step is we need to sample things. So if you click on the conditioning orange dot and notice that the colors of these things indicate what they are. So we click on that and drag out.
How do they know? How do the colors know what they are? Sorry, say that. Explain that a little bit.
You'll just get used to seeing certain colors, like yellow is always.
That it's always like. Gotcha. Okay, got what you're saying. Yeah.
Right, orange is conditioning, purple's the model, and we were going to want the K sampler at this time.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The K, so now we can.
Yep. And the K, I believe, stands for Catherine. So Catherine, who also works at Stability, typed something in chat about some new thing that she just discovered. I'm like, I need to grab a dictionary and break down what she just said because she's so brilliant. Like, wow.
All right, let me record you and then I'll come back to it.
Yes, you're going to look up a lot of words.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have this sampler. So what the sampler is going to be doing is using the clip conditioning and combination of the model and a latent. So we need to connect some things here. So this sampler is expecting a model. So you see all of the dots on the left-hand side are things it's expecting.
Gotcha.
And we don't have that purple thing. So if you notice the back in the checkpoint over in the far left-hand side, you have a purple thing.
Right.
So grab that model and connect it to the sampler.
Okay. Perfect.
That's it. And then we do the same thing with our negative conditioning. Needs to
connect to here.
Yep,
okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah, and I don't bother straightening stuff up until I'm done because it's going to get all weird anyway. And you will have lines that run around or through things. And there are other mechanisms for this. For example, if you take let's just, for an example, take the clip purple dot on the left-hand side in the model area where the load checkpoint says, it says model.
Sorry. Say which node are we in?
Just the left one on the far left side where it says load checkpoint. You got the purple model dot there.
Right.
So click and drag that up and out like you were going to create something. So click and then let go. One of the other ones here that's really handy is reroute. So you click reroute, and it's going to create a node where now you can drag things off of the right-hand side of that to go to others. So for example, on clip goes to both the positive and to the negative. But what if we had other nodes in other places? I'm talking about the left-hand side specifically, where the clip comes out of the checkpoint and goes into those. Do you see how it's feeding two of them? It would be possible, if that drove us nuts, we could drag from clip down to create a reroute node and then feed that reroute into both of those. So this allows you to kind of arrange the noodles in a way that doesn't drive you batty. But just so you know how it works. So you can also right-click on that, and you can change it to vertical. So set vertical. If you do that, that allows you to kind of feed up and down. So if you have graphs that are bigger down below,
into this,
well, again, it's kind of like playing Satisfactory or some other OCD simulator where you're like, arrange things, then you can be happy. You can also, we can go ahead and get rid of that node. So you can hit delete or remove at the very, very bottom is remove. That worked. Okay. And then you can do this too. I'll just show you a couple of housekeeping things. So if you click on the prompt positive and then control click on prompt negative.
Okay.
Yep. You can also right click here and choose align.
Align selected to?
Yep. And you can say,
and you go like top, bottom, left,
yeah,
right.
so to the right hand side, for example, in this case. There you go. So you can fix your little OCD. If you want to move these together, you have to hold in your shift key, and then you can click on one of them and move it around. So if you go ahead and hold down shift,
gotcha,
and move it around.
And it dances. Where's my music? Okay.
That's pretty good. All right. You're going to do karaoke, comfy karaoke.
I have me and I don't know you guys. If you guys know Toko Deco, we've talked about how we want to do like a karaoke tutorial day someday, but where I sing everything that I am teaching and or learning. It'll happen. We should do it.
It's going to feel like an episode of I can't remember the name of it. What's that? The goofy opera that was on. I can't remember the name of it now. Forget I said anything. Let's continue with this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name of that show. Watch it, and I was like, I can't. I got to leave the room. It was just too much for me. I can't remember. Oh, Les Mis. It's like they sing every line in the movie. Is that what you're gonna do? You're just gonna sing?
Okay, the movie is. Oh, God, you can't bring. Okay, we gotta move on. But I'm a big fan. Love it. Watch the 25th anniversary over and over and over again.
Everybody's got their thing. I'd rather listen to Above and Beyond than
my high school production, and
so I hit close to home. Is what you're saying.
I rewatched that like a 40-year-old old man who used to play high school, and he relives his life. He used to play football, and he relives like his last like touchback, quarter down, touchback. I don't know, touchdown. Drinks his beers, but I do that with theater. So
I'm not a theater person, so that's okay. Everyone's got their things.
Yes, it's true.
All right, so we have our prompts and we have our positive and negative, but we need this other thing on the left-hand side there. So you have a dot that's lonely, and that's a latent image. So a latent image, think of a latent image as a static or a noise, kind of like you turning on a TV to a channel that doesn't have anything. You get static. Kind of think of it like that, and it's randomly generated. It has all kinds of rules or other rules about how you can generate that noise and manipulate that noise. So there's a lot of cool things about that, but we want to generate an empty one. So if we just go over to the light purple dot there, the pink dot, and drag it off to the left side, because we're gonna make something with it. And I guess it's not there. Well, actually it is, but let's choose I'm going to show you a different way to do this here.
Okay.
So get rid of that.
Okay.
All right. If you double click on the interface anywhere and type in empty, there's an empty latent image.
Okay. So you can search for any node you need.
Yeah. And there's actually other fields here too. If you look in the middle, there's a drop down. So if you scooch over to the left a little bit or to the right, there's a drop down there.
Okay.
So you can say I'm looking for things in these specific subcategories.
Awesome.
But
There's
in general,
cool.
you'll find that there are certain things that you're looking for. So click on that, and then it'll create the empty latent. So this is again a noise that we're going to use to find our image, right? And there you go. You're already ahead of me. Now there's a couple settings in the latent image that are interesting. The height and width.
Okay.
So this is going to be the height and width of the image we're going to create.
Okay.
So 512 by 512 is fine for 1.5, which is what we're using here as our demo. And the batch size is the number we're going to generate per queue. And depending on the amount of RAM you have in your machine, 1 is fine. If you have more RAM, it's more efficient to up this. So let's change it to 2 just for giggles.
Okay, we'll see. I hope it doesn't.
There you go. And you can do this a couple ways. You can click on it that way. You can double click on it, and there's some click and drag stuff. So, but however you want to change it, that's up to you. I do want to show you one other cute trick in here. Yeah, we'll save that for a second. We'll save that in a minute because there's other things we want to do here. And then so we have our qualifications done. We have our model, our positive or negative, and our latent image. Now we want to convert that back into an actual image we can look at. So you see the latent is coming out of the right-hand side of our sampler.
Yeah.
So go ahead and click on that purple dot on the right-hand side. The other right.
Oh. Right. It's blocked by my mic.
Yep. And then click and drag.
Okay.
And let that go. And what we want to do here is we want to decode this.
The VAE decode?
VAE. Okay. So using our autoencoder, we want to decode this. So you see there's the VAE again comes with the checkpoint, but you can always add additional VAEs. And there are loaders for VAEs. But if you go back to the load checkpoint on the far left-hand side there,
yeah,
you can see it has that. So click and drag that all the way over there.
Too? Okay.
There you go. And again, it's need noodles going all over the place, but we don't really care because it's fine. All right, so we have our image that's coming out of that VAE decoder. So let's click and drag on that image, that blue dot on the far right-hand side, and then drag it down kind of under the K sampler there. And then, let go. And we can choose preview image. Now, preview and save do the same thing as far as visualizing the image, but save will actually put it on your hard drive. But for what we're doing here, previewing is fine.
Sunny has a really good question that I think would be good. Do you know if there's a list of ComfyUI shortcuts somewhere?
Yeah, it's actually on the Comfy, on the Git for Comfy. It's on there, but there aren't many. There aren't that many.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish there were more. There's a lot of them in other node-centric applications like Blender or Substance Designer or Houdini that have all kinds of node management. And by default, this doesn't really have any of that. I think that, though, as the popularity of this kicks up, more people will start to add things like docking is a thing that I really want to see. And I'll explain that later. All right, so here, let's put a positive prompt in.
Okay.
So I always use something simple like a box of rocks, but you do whatever you want to do.
A cat on a mat.
There you go. And then negative prompt. Negative prompting is sole urban legend as to the mess you need to put in here. I want you to put in here the opposite feeling of what this should be. Like, what do you not want to see? Like our cats, like rocks is a good example. Do you want to see a rock? No, you want to see a cat on a mat. So I just put a rock. Good enough.
Rocks.
I mean, I think you'll find that.
End of days. Armageddon.
All right. Wow. This is going to be super happy. All right. That's good enough.
Yeah. So it makes me
feel
like
I always use, I try and keep it minimal. I usually just use 1 or 2 words.
I really liked the playing with Pharma's clip interrogator for negatives. It's really interesting.
You can learn a lot from that. Yeah. I was actually just talking to him earlier today. We're doing some other goofy things, but the interrogator actually has a node you can put on here that will show you what an image that you have, what it would be interrogated as, which is kind of cool. All right, so I think we've got pretty much everything we need. Now, if we zoom in a little bit on the K sampler there, so if you get near it and scroll, there you go. So we can see we have a seed of 0. So a seed is, the mathematical random number that we're going to start with. And you can start with that, and you see that it says control after generate. That's what's going to happen the next time we hit generate, and it's going to pick another.
It's going to randomize it. Okay, and if I click on this, I can do.
If you click on the actual word random, you have
decrement, randomize.
There you go.
Randomize. Yeah.
The number of steps, 20 is fine for this. The classifier free guidance, so just 8 is fine. And then what type of sampler you prefer. Euler, which is how you say that word. It's a last name.
Euler, and it's not right. Euler.
Yeah, it's actually Euler. He's a 15th century mathematician, and we still use a lot of his stuff today. And he's not going to complain if you say his name wrong, but it's nice to actually say his name.
I mean, he might. We don't know what his personality was like. He could have been a real mean person.
It could have been a treat, yes. And then there are other.
I like Ancestral.
Yep, there you go. And there are other schedulers there as well. So you see it as normal. Karis, who actually I think works at NVIDIA. He's another amazing AI researcher.
So, okay, this seems different than when I'm working in auto. So this is a question I have.
Right.
What is scheduler versus, because usually it's the sampler, like
right.
Karis
So this is exposing. Right. That's one of the reasons why we like this. It's exposing other things that are not normally exposed in automatic, because it's you're in that application, you are focused on prompt engineering alone. You're focused on what words you're using, the order you're using them in, the weights for them, the positive, the negatives, and so on. The sampler, I mean, certain samplers work better with certain models, but in general, the samplers, in a lot of ways, we recommend certain samplers as defaults because we think they're best, but you never know. I mean, maybe it's personal preference, but they're all mathematical ways of breaking down what's being handed to us. That's what the sampler is doing. And my mind of looking at this, we have a number of steps we want to accomplish, and we want to do them in the quickest, most efficient way possible. And that's what the scheduler is kind of doing, is saying, how do you want to approach this problem? And Karis says his way of doing it. There's exponential methods, there's simple methods, there's the DDIM method. So in general, you can play with these and you'll get different results. I would just pick with normal to go with, which is probably the one that most people expect. When you're doing multiple samplers, which we're going to do in a second, you can mix and match these. Yeah, you get fun. So click Q prompt.
This is starting to sound exciting. Oh, sorry. What am I clicking?
Q prompt on the far right-hand side.
Okay. So then you go over here and you hit Q prompt, and that's basically right.
And there we go. And you see the green box around the far left-hand side there around the checkpoint?
Yeah.
That is loading that. That's kind of showing you where it's doing. So it's loading this.
Oh, so it's
and then it's going
to, and then it's jumping. And now it's here. This is fun.
Mm-hmm. And then it's showing you its process. And go through the decoder. And there you go.
And we got 2 cats on a mat.
So if you click on one cat, it'll give you a bigger view of it. And you can actually change the size of the preview so that it starts to buffer the window. So make it much bigger until you get some edges. There you go. So it looks like that's the size of the image. So if you click the X in the upper right-hand corner again, you can kind of go back to the two versions. So, and you can make this big too, so you could see 2 of them full size if you wanted to. So that's the benefit of using a batch size of 2, is we're actually seeing 2 images instead of 1. If you like one in particular, because we're only previewing it here, we didn't save these, you can actually right-click on the image and save the image right from here.
Okay, gotcha.
So there are options to do this. We can also, instead of using preview image, we can use the save image box. But for what we're doing here, let's just stick with this so you're not littering your hard drive with random terrible pictures of whatever we're going to make.
I don't want to do it. Yeah, I don't want to save anything yet.
I mean, unless you absolutely feel that you need that, big.
Well, I mean, we should maybe show. So is this also going back to sort of what Jeff's question was? Is like how we
that's a much more complicated answer. So
never mind.
Yeah, I don't want to go.
I don't think I want to go into that. Now I just have this picture. I saved it. It happened. Now I just have it. It's fine.
Forever. You could get a tattoo of that. I mean,
I should.
There's not about. Okay, so let's complicate our lives a little bit. We have this, so I want to show you some other tricks so you can understand why this gets to be really interesting. So let's actually go over to the empty latent image on the far left-hand side there. Yep, and zoom way in close to that thing. Okay, and what I want you to do is I want you to right-click on it. And down at the bottom, it says convert width to input. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Click on that. And you see now width is gone, and now we see a gray dot on the left-hand side for width.
Okay.
Now do the same thing with the height.
Convert height to input. Okay.
There you go.
So now,
so now if we drag one of those out, so click on that gray dot there and kind of drag it out, and then let go. We can click Add Node. And then we want to go down to Utils.
Okay.
At the very bottom. And we add primitive.
Okay.
And so this is a number, an integer. So it says a little int next to the green dot there. And you see it is a value of 512 with, so it says control after generate, it's going to be fixed. The only way to resize these is the lower right-hand corner, by the way. Other right.
That's something. Oh, lower right. Also don't know my rights from my lefts. Okay.
I don't either. Okay, so this is fine, but we want another one. So Alt click and drag this thing. So you create two of them.
Click and drag. Okay.
And then connect this int to the height.
Okay, now I got the same thing.
So I wanted to do this so that you understand that you can use, controls like this. So if you get rid of that primitive there, for example, that one you just created, just get rid of it. Hit your delete key. There you go. And connect that int there to both of those, width and height. There. So just showing that you can drag controls out. And obviously this one is not very handy, but it shows the concept of creating inputs from things that normally you would be adjusting, in the control. You can adjust by creating primitives of them and dragging them around. This is really handy if we had more than one area where we had to demonstrate we needed to have the height and width. We don't have to sit there and have height and width adjusted in 15 different places. We just create the primitive and drag and connect them to every place we need it.
Okay. So I sort of understand.
Okay.
So this is more for this isn't like something that is gonna add anything to it. It's more like organizational.
If you find yourself repeating the same values all over the place, you need to do this because it will make your life a lot easier. Again, if we have height and width in 5 different places, you don't want to have to go and say, I want to make a tall one now, and you have to go in 5 different places and change the height and width.
Gotcha.
This is how you would do that. So I just want to show you that.
Okay.
We don't really have any reason to show that in this workflow, but I do want to show you it as a capability.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So let's zoom out again. Let's go over by this sampler now.
Oops.
There you go. And let's drag that VAE decoder off to the right-hand side a bit. Make room for another sampler. There we go. And let's go ahead and let's click on the sampler and copy it. The K sampler there. Yep. Click and copy that. And then shift paste it. Control shift V. And you see it's got all those connections in it. Yeah, we lost our positive there. So let's go ahead and grab that positive and here we go. Now the latent is still using the empty latent, right? But I think let's do this. Let's do something with the first sampler and then just sample it again. But let's use the latent that comes out of the first sampler and feed it into the second one. So put that sampler back up to the right-hand side like where it was a second ago.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
And disconnect the latent from...
Can I just do that by pulling?
Yep. And then feed that into the latent.
Here?
No, you want it to go into that purple dot. There you go. It did it for you automatically. You see?
Yes. So now it's in a row. Okay. So this is going to go here, and then it's going to go to that.
Exactly. So let's change our methods here and steps. We don't need 20 steps for each one. Let's kind of think of it like the first one's kind of conditioning the noise. So let's say the number of steps we do in the first one is say 5, just for giggles.
Okay. I'm guessing I can click here. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And you have to hit that. And then it's going to take that and it's going to feed that into the next one. And it's going to do 20 more steps. Now, we're going to use an advanced
all the time in auto, but I have to jump back and forth. Okay, so this is exciting. Okay, continue. Sorry, I'm excited. Continue.
Okay, and this may not work because we need to use an advanced sampler here, but I want to show you kind of the concept before we complicate it. Okay. And then we take that link and drag it into the VAE decoder, just like we would, because we have to take that, and feed that into that decoder so we can actually see what it looks like. So the concept here is that you're using 2 different samplers on the same noise, and we can do some cool stuff with that. For example, we can change the scheduler, or we could change the sampler. If you did say the first 5 in Euler, and then you change the second one to something else, or let's say you like Euler, so that's what you want to stay with, but you want to change the scheduler from normal to exponential. So there's all kinds of ways to play with this. It's not to say there's probably a right way, but because we're all learning all these really neat ways of looking at this, you might stumble on something that makes exactly what you like, even if it seems non-traditional. So,
and I can change everything here. I can change how much I want it to denoise in the second one. I can change it. Can I change the seed? Would that be weird?
No, you can do that too. In fact, they are randomized, and they are not. They won't be the same seed after the first click because they're both going to choose random.
Oh, okay.
So this is a situation.
Because they're on randomized, but I could keep it. I could make it fixed.
Well, or like we just did with the size, you could right click and say, I want my seed to be an input, and then we could create a primitive and feed the same number into both of those fields.
Okay. That's interesting.
You understand?
Yeah.
Do you want to try it?
Yeah, but I don't know how you do it.
Okay, so right click there.
Okay.
And you want to convert your seed to an input. Yeah, you want to do that with the other sampler as well.
Okay, so you have to do it with both. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then drag one down. Yeah, drag it down. Add node, utils, primitive.
It's primitive, right?
Yep. And then drag that same integer up to the other one.
And now it's like a little
so thing. One control feeds both.
And it's fixed.
I'm going to set that to random if you'd like. Now,
okay.
There are situations where you'll find that if you use two different noises here, you may like the result better than using the same noise, or you might prefer that you use the same noise. Like there are certain situations we find we get anomalies where in one case where we may not in another. So there's a lot of discovery through this that, again, you can't do this in Automatic 1111. It's a focus on the green box, and the rest of this is kind of magically done. That's why I think this is interesting. So go ahead and hit Q prompt and let's see what happens, and then we'll move this to an advanced sampler. And notice that it didn't reload the checkpoint.
It didn't start, yeah. Oh, it doesn't look. I mean, maybe that's what I was going for. This is great. Some abstracts.
There you go. I love it. See, this is a better tattoo anyway.
It's actually a cat on a mat. It's like a mat that the cat has been put on.
There you go. It's exactly what you asked. And you'll find SDXL actually is a lot more sensitive to the prompt than 1.5.
Oh, yes, 100%. This is not
in fact, to the point where sometimes it's almost a fail. Like if you're trying to train a LoRa, for example, using the in style of or in style is almost a mandatory way to state it. Otherwise, you think your training failed. It's syntactically, you didn't call it properly. Unlike 1.5 is pretty unforgiving or pretty forgiving, I should say. You just use the word anywhere in it. It seems like SDXL is a little pickier about that. All right, so why does this look so wonky? And again, you're already doing it. You're playing with different things. The problem we have here is the first sampler that we're using has the ability to pass noise on. So there's an advanced sampler. So let's look at the advanced sampler. So let's go get one just for giggles. So double click somewhere in the interface. So we want to, and we want, just type in case sample and it'll come up. No, we don't want that one.
Oh, not this one.
No. And just type in K. There you go. Enough. And you see there's an advanced sampler. Yep. So this has a few more options.
Okay.
So what I want to do here is let's get rid of the first sampler. So now you have the chore of rerouting all those nodes that you see there.
So I just delete it.
Well, or you can drag
okay.
cables. Oh no, that's fine.
Too late, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So just go hook those back up.
Hook everything up. This is good though. This will help me keep. So I want to model here.
Yep.
Okay. Clip. No, that's goes down there, which it did. BAA. Okay. So positive, negative, and latent. Okay, great.
Check you out. You got it.
This has to go to here.
You got it.
Okay, perfect.
Right. So there's some more interesting options in here. And one of the ones that you'll find important here is at the bottom it says return with leftover noise. We want to enable that.
Okay. What does this do?
Well, it allows whatever the latent noise that we didn't do, because we're doing so few steps, we want to return the rest of that noise so that the sampler can finish the job that we started.
Okay.
So at least that's the way, in my mind, I look at it. Now, there's a couple of interesting things here you can trip over that can lead to chaos. You notice steps, like we had before, is set to 20. But we also have a start at step and end at step. So it gives us the ability to start at a certain step or to end at one.
That's fun.
Now, if it's ending at 10,000, which I would leave alone,
okay,
I wouldn't look at that. I would look at the number of steps we're taking up at the top is like near 20. Do you see that? So it says steps 20.
Yeah.
I would leave it like that. So it's going to start at 0. It's going to count to 20, and then it's going to be done. It's not going to go to 10,000.
Okay.
But there might be situations where you want it to end specifically at a certain step for a certain reason, which in our case, that's complicated. So let's do just 3 steps for this one, for example.
So we're going to do 3 steps.
Just 3 steps.
It's very few steps.
Okay.
Baby steps.
Now let's copy and paste this node again. But we want to do it with the shift key because we want to keep all the numerals intact.
Let's see.
Yep. There you go. You got it.
Numerals intact.
But we want to feed the latent from the first one into the second one here. And we're going to get rid of that other node. So
okay, we're just going to delete this guy.
Yep.
Oh no, it deleted all my.
Well, no, that's okay because we didn't need all that, and then that latent goes to there.
Yeah.
Right. So in this case, we start at step 0. Well, that's not right because we just did 3 steps, right?
Right.
So
we want
let's
to
start at step 3.
3. Gotcha.
And then let's do a certain number of steps after. So let's do, say, 40 steps.
And that's the end at steps, or up here is where we change that?
I would do it up there. There's a lot of bizarre situations that can happen when the end at step, for example, is set to a certain number and the number of steps is set to something when they argue with each other because you're stepping further than your end of steps can lead to like a truncation and then your image is all wonky. You don't know why.
Okay, so is that sort of answering what Wiz is asking here of like why is it better to start with something in the latent or the
Well, I don't know if there's a right answer for that. I mean, to me, I'm just experimenting with things, but the fact that I can do this is really the goal. The right answer or what we ultimately should choose, well, that's really up to you, right? We offer suggestions what we think are the best settings, but those are based on our research, and you're an artist as well. So now the one thing we don't want to do here is we don't want to return leftover noise with that second sampler because we're done with it, right? So at the bottom of that sampler that's highlighted, when the last one return with latent leftover noise, we want to change it to disable.
Okay.
Yeah, and then cue that prompt and see what it looks like.
Okay. Well, yeah. Oh, prompt options failed. Case sampler required input. Oh, positive. So it does have to be hooked up.
Notice that it highlights it for you, so you get a really good guidance as to if something is not quite right. It doesn't mean what you're going to get is amazing. What it means is that it will at least give you something. And notice again, it did that first one very quickly, and then it came back and did those.
Nice. Hey, there's an actual little cat on the mat. Andre, thank you, Andre, for this amazing cat on the mat prompt, by the way. We were talking earlier about the prompt book. Here's a question to keep in mind too, Scott, as we work on this. Is there a way that this workflow at the end that we can share that and so people can load it up to catch up if they're watching this later?
Yes, it's actually pretty insidiously cool. So there's a couple methods. You can hit save and it will save a JSON file, which you can just drag and drop right on the interface and it will load it in. But what's also cool is if you open up, well, if we were saving these things, so if save that cat, for example.
I'm going to save this beautiful cat.
Yep. So right click, save that beautiful cat, save image. There you go. Okay. Now, and let's go ahead and save the JSON for it too. So hit save over there on the below the Q prompt. Okay. There you go. And that's fine. Just call it workflow or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. So move some nodes around on this a little bit, or delete one of the K samplers just for fun. We're going to damage this a bit. There you go. Okay. So now drag the comfy temp cat, not that one, but that one, and drag it over the interface and let go. So every image you create contains the workflow.
Wow. Very
So
cool.
all you have to do is take the picture that you made and drag it in the workflow and boop, it's done. So this is how you share it, is you actually you share the image. So it is
that's nice.
elegant that way. The workflow JSON is the same way. If you drag and drop it in the interface, it will load it as well. So you don't need to use the load button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Do I have just a random primitive down here for some reason?
Well, we were using that as the seed because we have generating random seeds now for each sampler.
Right.
But yeah, you can
then
clean it up.
we deleted that other one that we were using it for. Okay.
So the I guess the goal here is that you're creating a workflow and you're inserting, like the second sampler, for example, is set to normal as your scheduler. Maybe you want to try that as an exponential scheduler and see if you get a result that you like better. Maybe you can increase your step count that way. Maybe you prefer one type of scheduler with a combination of a certain sampler and you discovered the, key to life, the universe, and everything. Again, it's up to you.
The perfect cat on the mat. Yeah.
Until you get the perfect cat on the mat generator. Cat near a mat, right? Almost.
I miss 1.5. What is this, 1.5? That's great.
Yeah. I do too. But I have to say, I'm when we try different models, and I'm like sighing a lot because I'm like, I don't like this one. And Joe's like, don't worry about it, man. The good ones are in the oven. They're still coming. So then you test them and you test them, and every time he hands you one, you're like, dude, this one is so much better. And every day I say that until he ultimately hands me the 1.0, and I'm like, holy crap, man. Like this went from 0.9, which was okay, to 1, which is so much better. I'm like, so I can't wait for what's coming next.
I want to play with it so bad.
No, yeah.
I mean, I do play with it on auto, but.
Yeah. Well, we can do that in here. Now, do you want to do that today or do you want to do that next time? Because that workflow is a little bit different.
I would like to do it today. I think we could I know we're pushing time a little bit, but if you want to, I would love to do it because I know everyone is so excited to use Comfy with SDXL. And
so our complication is we're going to need SDXL clip encoders, and we don't have those by default here. I do not believe. So let's just double click and try it. So double click and type SDXL. Oh, we do. Okay, good. We do. All right. So grab that first encoder, the one that just says SDXL.
Not the refiner, yeah, the regular one.
Yeah, just that one. Let's just do that. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this, these are going to be your text prompts, right? So if you zoom in on that thing, okay, you've got your G, right? Mm-hmm. This is the open clip. So this is better at specific things like fine details or specific items or characters. And the other one is more of a general, like kind of like your surreal or abstract concepts, overall general describing a scene. So now you have 2 positive prompts that you can use to describe the scene instead of 1.
Wow.
So
that's crazy. So it'd be like cat on, do I have to delete this whole thing?
Yeah.
Cat on a mat, and then this would be like surreal mind. This is terrible.
I would do cat on the mat for the bottom one, for example.
Oh, I thought it was okay. Cat on the mat.
And in the top one, put orange and black.
Okay, so this is like what you kind of want it to look like.
Yeah. So the clip G is more of the detail one.
Style and stuff too, like painting.
Whatever. Well, again, that's more of a general.
Okay.
So I would put that in the bottom one. But again, it's really kind of a learning experience as to using these 2 prompts. So some people, like when I do my demo on YouTube, I combine these together by, again, you can right click and say, I want to hand this text into it. So yeah, and I maybe mixed them up too. Because I have my whole workflow.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you definitely want to represent the cat in both of them, but in one you would put more details about it, for example.
Okay, so it's not so much you're splitting up the 2 prompts into 2 things. It's that one. Okay, so an orange and black cat on a mat.
Right. So, for example, in Mid-Journey very early on, you have a lot more success if at the beginning of the prompt you discuss like what the overall prompt is. So say it's 2 people in a park. And then you would go in and say, okay, one person is wearing a hat and a coat and the other person is wearing a dress. So you don't just say 2 people in a park, you know, a man in a coat and dress or a coat and a hat and a woman in a dress. My God, where am I going with that? And and they're in a park with a picnic. That prompt will be highly unsuccessful. You need to kind of couch the whole thing first and say, this is the overall scene and here are the details for the scene. So that prompt is much more successful than trying to just kind of describe it like you would just generically describe the whole scene. So breaking it down. This is kind of the same way. So if you have an orange and black, you want to put the word cat in there, for example. Yeah, but I tend to use the clip G more for the details and the clip L more for the abstract concept kind of overall. But you'll figure that out. But for the sake of today, just know you have 2 prompts that you can play with. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I oftentimes set these to the same thing.
Okay.
Just because
I don't like simplicity.
Life is complicated enough. All right, so let's right-click on this in the node and change it to green because it is going to be
colors is green. Okay.
There you go. And let's get rid of the other one that's there because we don't need that old one.
This prompt thing.
Yep, don't need that anymore. Yep, and drag it up and put it in its place and hook it up.
Clippy, 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 positive. And then we just make a duplicate of this baby?
Yep.
C, Control Shift E. And then we delete you, go away. And then this is here, but we're going to make you red because we like colors. Red. Da, 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 da. Okay.
Now, negative prompt with SDXL is minimal. I wouldn't go
it's very
down on this. Like this whole extra fingers. Like I don't. Why do people put that? What it doesn't.
Sometimes
if it doesn't know how many fingers a person.
I was playing with Pharma's stuff yesterday with SDXL and throwing in like different stuff into the clip interrogator and getting like crazy negative prompts and then like throwing those on to the same prompt and it would like you would get some really cool effects. Again, it's just messing around. It's like
I don't know that you're in it, but in the company Slack, there's a cursed art share for that extra special moment when you find something that's so terrible you feel the need to share it. Yeah, I actually, it's one of my favorite things to see someone post and I'm like, oh, what terrible thing did somebody make?
Yeah.
All right, so this is your major leap here is the clip encoders. You have a lot more capability here. Now note that there's other things too. There's a width and a height, and then there's a target width and height. And our clip conditioning space, for example, I believe was conditioned at 4096. You don't have to do that, but that's the number that we tend to use. You don't have to do that at all. You can just leave them at 1024, which is what most people are doing. I don't even think our documentation goes into that in much depth. So just leaving it at 1024 is fine.
Okay. What does the target width exactly do? I'm not quite sure I understand.
Well, that's the target width is ultimately the size of the latent you're feeding into it, which right now is not that size. So let's go change it.
Okay.
So if you scooch over to your latent size, change that to 1024.
Oh my gosh, work. There we go.
Yep. Now, we also need to use that 1024. Do you see there's 6 other places where that number could occur? Not that you need to hook it up right now, but your target width and height, for example, if you were working on different, you wanted a portrait or a landscape image, you would be changing the primitives for width and height in 6 different places now.
Right.
So that's why I showed you how to do that primitive trick, because it does come in very handy.
Okay. Very cool. And so I would just make this and I would just batch them all into the same place. Well, probably like width maybe into one and height into the other. Cool.
Yeah.
If I wanted to have different widths and heights. We're just doing 10, 24, 24. Okay. Awesome.
So run it and see what happens.
Oh, let's run. Let's see what our different cat on the hat is. What am I missing? Tell me about it. Tell me all about it. I'm missing my positive and my negatives into the second sampler.
See, you're already troubleshooting this thing.
I'm so smart. Okay, cute. And now it has to start at the beginning again because we changed the thing.
So what do you think? Was this hell?
It's not hell at all. It's just learning a new thing. And like half the part of the time you're talking, my brain is like, okay. But it's also just getting hands-on and doing it.
Do we get past the sticking points? Like, okay.
Yes. But it also opens up. What's interesting about it is whenever you start something new like this, it starts opening up. Especially with this, it seems like there's so much opportunity, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be days of me just playing to see where it all goes. Oh, look at the little kitty on the thing.
Now these are much bigger, so again, you can double the size of that preview box.
Let's make it huge. Let's make it huge. I'll put it over everything. Oh, gosh. There it is. There's an orange and black cat on a mat. It's a painting. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. All right, shall we try the refiner? Do you want to try that?
Yes, I would love to. I was going to ask about that.
Okay, so a little change to things just to kind of make this a little more sane. First one, we need to load the refiner. So take that load checkpoint and duplicate it.
Okay.
And I would just Alt-click and drag it up because it's going to have a bunch of different stuff.
Okay.
Yep. And change that to the refiner. Man, and I tend to color code my things so I don't forget what I'm doing. So for the base checkpoint, the main checkpoint, change it to blue, for example. You didn't sing your little color thing when you changed it.
I know, I didn't. You're right.
Make that one purple.
Make this one purple.
There you go. Well, that's much better.
I like the colors, by the way, ComfyUI. They're very nicely chosen colors. Very nice on the eyes. It's lovely. Oh my gosh, Wiz is sharing crazy stuff.
Okay. So the first case sampler, the one that only has the 3 steps, we're gonna make that do some more work here, but let's use that one for the base. So let's go ahead and change that to like say 13 or 15 steps or something like that, or 20, whatever you want.
Okay.
In general, we want the base to do most of the work and the refiner to kind of finish it. So, for example, we might do 32 with the base and say 8 more with the refiner.
Okay, so the base one we want to be a little bit higher.
Right, but we don't want the refiner to do more of the heavy lifting. The refiner, by the way, is a completely different model. So
yeah,
I know some people who are trying to use that as a base. I don't know.
And it's kind of fun, but yeah.
Now, that one down there, we're starting at step. You say it says 3. We can't do that.
We want to start at 32.
Yep. So this is another situation where you may want a primitive where it's doing the math for you. Because then that way you can sit there and change number of steps and you never have to worry to remember to change that. But that's, here nor there. All right, so the first case sampler, let's make that one blue. Because that one's going to do the work for the base. There you go.
We're going pale blue, because there's not a normal blue, guys. There's only a pale.
There's a normal blue.
Also cyan, but cyan's great. Okay, sorry.
A cerulean?
A cerulean, yes. I would
so
like a
cerulean, please.
Yes.
With no room.
And then this one is for the purple one, right?
Yeah.
So colors purple. Okay.
Okay, and then you got to hook that one up to that different model because it's going to use a different model.
Oh, right. Okay. Do I have to unhook it or will it not? Well, I guess let's find out.
No, if you connect it, it'll disconnect the other one.
Okay.
All right, now we do have a different positive and negative situation here. We need to use a different thing here. So if we double click in the interface somewhere and type in SDXL again, you'll notice we have a refiner version of the clipping text encoder. So bring that up and drag that somewhere up top there. Because I tend to put these near the top. There you go. And you have a green one, you have a red one.
Yes. And this doesn't do negatives or positives, right? So or does it?
It does, but we'll make that one green, for example.
Okay. Colors. Green.
So this doesn't have the G and the L versions of the clip. It almost just has the one. So make another one that's the red one. So we have a positive and a negative.
Sorry. I was watching the chat. What? Make another one and make it a negative. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
You're actually really easy to work with because you're actually following along. Like I've done this a few times and people are like, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you. I was doing something else. I'm like, why are we here?
Like exactly what I just said. I was looking at the chat. Sorry,
because
I wasn't listening.
you have to,
It only
because
happened once.
you don't have a mod helping you, so you have to read.
There are some mods in there, but I am still trying to keep a pseudo eye on what people are saying.
Yeah, and if you need to take a break to read that, feel free. I mean,
I will.
Okay. So
I made a red and I made a green.
Yeah, so think of this now as your second pass at a prompt. So is there any corrections you want to make to the prompt, or things that the refiner is going to handle at the end? So any additional details or nuances, this is the place you would put them in there. And again, you may choose to use the exact same prompt that you did with your G or your L down below. That's up to you.
But this is the -1, so it would be... Yeah, I could change things. I've never changed a prompt with the refiner. I've always kept it.
Well, again, with the refiner is only doing 8 steps, so it's just the end of it. So don't expect anything dramatic out of it. But
or maybe I would do like, I didn't spell painting right.
I actually find sometimes that misspellings yield fun results, so I wasn't going to correct you.
I do that too.
And then the negative there, you can just leave it blank if you'd like, or again, use the word rocks. I'll use the word rocks.
I want to do rocks. We don't want any rock.
No
rocks.
Rock-free zone.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're saying something about changing the step to 33 instead of it being 32. So it goes 32 here, and then it should be 33 on the next one.
That's fine. I usually just use the same number, but there are instances actually where I'll overlap the samplers too. I mean, kinds of wackiness you can do in here.
Yeah.
Again, it's where it's such an early point to this. 10 years down the road, it's like, oh, this is the way you have to do it. Now we're kind of like, let's poke it and see what it does, right?
Yeah, exactly. I always like breaking things, which is easy for me because I don't know how to use them usually, and then it just happens naturally.
You seem to be doing just fine, other than unplugging the internet earlier. You're doing a good job.
Other than breaking the internet, I was doing fine.
Now, there are one additional field here. You'll notice it says A score. So if you zoom in a bit on the refiners, A score. So we found, again, this is internal testing, so you do your own testing, that a positive aesthetic score of 6 for the green one tends to be pretty good, and the negative one of 2.5. So I would change the aesthetic score of the red box.
The A score stands for aesthetic score. And this is just like making it prettier?
Not 20. Be careful there with the...
No. Is it 2.5? I thought it was 2.5.
Okay. I was just putting the decimals in there. That's interesting. All right. Yep. As long as the decimals where we need it to be.
Yeah.
All right. And hook it up.
Okay. So I'm hooking this up. So I'm going from this load checkpoint, the purple one, right?
Mm-hmm.
To clip. And then... Oh gosh, I have to relook. Okay, I do clip on both. I'm gonna have to do it like this, guys. I have to do it like this. I'm sorry.
No, that's what I would have done.
This is how my brain works. Okay. And then the conditioning is going to go to purple.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason I color code them, because I just find it a lot easier to look at them.
And this is negative. Oh no, what happened? I accidentally put that one in positive. Negative. Positive.
You give yourself too much guff for not being able to adapt this. Been doing just fine.
I do. It's not a party with Amelie unless there's a lot of self-deprecation. It's just part of the joy of being with me.
Well,
okay,
you want to let it rip?
And now we're just gonna do it. Oh my gosh! All right, let's go. I want to see it in all its glory over here. So we have added the refiner. It is just in the process now, which is so nice because I don't have to go and load. And it's thinking over here. We can't read it, but it's just thinking. But I wanted to see the whole thing.
Loading the refiner.
That's right, loading the refiner.
It doesn't have to load the base again. That's one of the other nice things I like about this. The fact that it caches this stuff so we don't have to do it constantly. You do it once and you're good. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't keep the same seed, so it's going to make a whole new thing. That's fine.
Yeah. And if you kept the same seed, you'd find that it would only do the samplers then. It wouldn't have to go back and do that. I mean, it would generate new random noise, a latent noise, but it would you wouldn't need to load those checkpoints every time.
Awesome. Look at, I mean, this one's nice. Look at that pretty little painting of a cat. And it's literally on a mat. It's like threaded in there. In a little mat. And that's it. Great. This one's
so that's how you use it. So instead of preview, let's use a saved image. So let's keep the preview there. In fact, let's do this. Let's take that VAE decoder you have there at the end.
Yeah.
And duplicate that. So alt click and drag it out.
Okay.
And you paste it. That's fine. But let's borrow the latent from the first first sampler there.
Oh, okay. This one instead.
Yeah. So let's see, and then grab the VAE. Oops, I see a mistake here too that we made, but we'll figure that out in a second. Now grab the VAE from the base. So you're gonna go over to the. No, we had to get all the way to the model for this one.
Oh. I was thinking purple here. Gotcha.
Yep.
Or blue.
And we forgot to switch our VAE actually in the second pass. So let's do that.
Oh, we did.
Yep. So grab the VAE from the refinery and put it on the last decoder.
On this one?
Yep.
Okay. Because we need it in both. All right.
Well, we want that one for the refining step, but we need the other one for the base. So on that second decoder we just added, the lower one.
Refining, and this is the base. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so grab that base one there and grab that blue dot and drag it out. And let's preview an image here. The very bottom option. Yeah, just leave that there. That's good. And then delete the preview image that we have on the far right-hand side. Just delete that and drag that out again, that blue dot. And choose Save Image. So this time it'll start to actually save them to our hard drive. There we go. So we're going to get...
image going to only show me before it goes through the refiner?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So you're going to want to move these next to each other after it has something in it. So for now, don't worry about arranging them. But this is actually the really fun part of this, is being able to look at what's going on at any specific moment in time. You say like, well, what's coming out of this sampler before it goes into this sampler? Are there adjustments I need to make? Is there a strategy plan? Is there what exactly the hell's going on here? Now you can actually look.
Right. So I can retrieve an image at almost any point in the process.
Correct. There's even abilities to view the latent noise as an image. Like, I don't know why you would care to do that, but if you do 3 samples against it, for example, maybe you want to see what kind of conditioning that left or created. So go ahead and cue that prompt and let's see what happens.
Okay.
By the way, if nothing changes, you'll see that it says queue size of 1. It'll just change from 0. It'll change right back to a 0. And you'll be like, what the hell happened? Well, nothing changed. So you don't need a new image. You already have all the images you need.
Gotcha.
If you hit Q on your keyboard, by the way, it will actually show you the queue. Like the letter Q.
It says running and or pending.
Right. But if you bang in the Q button a bunch of times, the Q prompt button a bunch of times, you'll generate, I mean, if you actually click on the Q prompt button, it will generate multiple images. And you'd see the queue, and you can stop and start them. But like if you, sometimes I'll just, queue off like 200 or 300 jobs and walk away and come back later. So in this situation, you can move those next to each other and say, well, what exactly did the refiner do? And this is where you can kind of come up with your step counts and say, what is the best step count? I would actually put those in the other order.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I would color them so you know that one is the blue one and that one.
I was literally about to be like, I need to color these bad boys.
You gotta sing it
though. This is pale blue, and this is purple because it's refined. Okay.
Yeah, you sounded like Gladys from Halo just then.
I've gotten that before.
Have you?
From my team. we were talking, I was trying to do like a voiceover, and they're like, "Are you doing Gladys from Halo?" And I was like, "No."
No,
Or
from
maybe.
Portal. Yeah, you need the
Or
Aperture
Portal or
Science
whatever.
theme song. All
I
right, so click on
love
one of the
that
cats
song.
there, like the bottom one perhaps, and then this, and then the other one, and then move them
How's
right
that?
on top of each other and zoom in and see if you can see.
Yeah.
Like get the one cat over next to the other one and see if you can see any detail leaps and, oh, this is a big difference. Do I care? Like even the carpet, is there much difference in the carpet? The hair around the cat. And this
Yeah,
is
there
where
doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on.
there does not appear to be a whole lot there. So we may be that we're too aggressive with our number of steps in our first time. So let's back up to the base and maybe we bring that count down to say 20. So this is all in the samplers there.
Okay.
In this case, we're making the refiner do more heavy lifting, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good thing, but the fact that we're returning our empty noise to the refiner allows us to kind of maybe play with it. So in
it's
this
gonna
case,
be like
you're
almost half and half right now.
yeah, as I say, you're kind of skewing this significantly. So it's going to turn out into be a lot more unique of an image. Plus, I tell you, the refiner really shines specifically at humans, in my mind. Like every time I have a person in there, I think the refiner makes such a substantial difference. Where on an image like this, the refiner may or may not really do much.
Okay. Well, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens
Yep.
after I did this. And then we're wrapping up, I think, probably, unless there's anything, because we've been going 2 hours, so I don't want to hold you for a lot of time. And we'll have to obviously do some more in-depth ones of this, but I feel like we've gotten a really good, sorry, I'm distracted now. I like this fluffy one, but I also don't
So
see.
zoom in and see, does it make a big difference? So it looks like they have a lot more detail in the hair.
Yeah, and the hair. It's just crisper. I like these little cats on a mat. I could definitely do more though. Okay, very cool. I love all of this. I'm also going to save this for everybody, but I have one more question before we go because I think it's also really cool with SDXL is, and I don't know if we can do this in 12 minutes, but
Oh, wait.
Oh, what happened?
No, okay. I was looking at your diagram and I just find something was weird there, but you're okay.
Oh,
I think. Okay. I'm
broken.
sitting there going, wait. All right. Sorry. I'm sorry. What's your question?
Oh, wait. I'm missing the returned latent on the base because it ends after all 32 steps. Wait, what? I changed it. 20 starts at 20 steps and then it does another 20 steps. So that's 40 total steps. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So LoRa's, especially because we're working with, there's also the offset LoRa, the wonderful offset LoRa that comes with SDXL as well. So how does one throw those babies in here? Is that an easy thing or is that really complicated?
Load it in. So right click, add node, loader.
Which one is it? Loader? Okay.
And then load LoRa.
Load LoRa. Oh, okay. So we have load checkpoint, load LoRa, load. Oh, this is where people are going to play with your control nets when you want to. Okay.
We're currently training the control net for SDXL, so we don't have one that we've released yet officially, but there are obviously some that I'm sure people are going to be creating. But
yes, they're
ours
still
is
being
not.
made.
Ours is still in the oven. And you can see, if you just look at it, you can kind of tell where do you have to put it in your process. It's really obvious.
Oh gosh, I feel like I'm getting a
well,
right
it
now.
only fits one place,
This
and I would use it on the base. I wouldn't use it on the refiner.
Right, so it's gonna go.
It's got to go right there, right? There's only one place it can go.
Is it have another model here if you wanted? So if you wanted to do another LoRa, this would go
correct.
Out to
You can chain them.
Okay.
Yes, you can chain
and
them.
then this would just go to clip.
Yep.
Okay, and that's how.
But you need to take that model.
Oh, I need to take
out of the
this
LoRa.
in.
Yep, and then that. Yep, you do that, but the model has to go on to the first case sampler.
Okay, because I'm not connecting it to anything else.
Yep, and it's replacing the output from.
Right.
So do you see it kind of just fits nicely into that little space right in front of it? Yeah, right in front of the first sampler, in front of the checkpoint. So that's where LoRa's go. And again, the amount of weight you put in it and so on. And then whatever
Where is it?
Now,
I had it here. I can't find it. There it is. And then you just put whatever LoRa you want on there. Yeah.
Well, remember though that the space the LoRa is conditioned for may not match what we're producing, so it may throw an error.
Right. Especially if it's most of the LoRas I had in there were not SDXL trained. Okay, well that was super easy.
Yeah, I mean it's relatively simple, and then you just continue with the strength of the clip or the strength of the model and so on. And then it's a matter of rearranging. Now there's a lot more nodes. And I think next time we need to talk about the management node because that's the big one. Oh, can I